What really happened to flight MH370 should be impossible. The plane didn't explode. It didn't fall out of the sky. It didn't send a distress call. It simply vanished. 239 people, a Boeing 777, one of the most advanced aircraft ever built. And within minutes, it was gone. No noise, no warning, no trace. But that's not the most disturbing part. What makes this case different is what happened after it disappeared. Because for hours, someone or something was still controlling it, and no one knows why. Welcome to Crazy World Facts. This is not just an aviation mystery. This is one of the most unsettling real cases ever recorded. A flight that took off normally and then entered a sequence of events that should not be possible. March 8, 2014, Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Everything looked routine. Passengers boarding, crew preparing, systems checked. Destination Beijing. Nothing unusual. Nothing that would suggest that this flight would become one of the greatest mysteries of our time. The aircraft took off, climbed normally. Communications were clear. Everything was under control. Until that moment, the final transmission from the cockpit was calm. Good night, Malaysian 370. A standard phrase. No urgency, no fear. And seconds later, silence. The plane disappeared from civilian radar, just like that. But this is where it starts to get strange, because it didn't crash. It didn't break apart. It didn't vanish completely. Military radar picked something up. A turn. A deliberate change in direction. The aircraft turned away from its planned route and began flying in the opposite direction. This wasn't random. This wasn't mechanical failure. This was controlled. And then another detail made things even more disturbing. The communication systems didn't fail. They were turned off, one by one, manually. Like someone inside the aircraft knew exactly what they were doing. Now imagine this. A commercial airliner flying in total silence, completely invisible to standard tracking systems, carrying hundreds of people, moving across the sky without anyone knowing where it is. And it didn't stop there, because even without communication, the aircraft was still sending signals, satellite handshakes, automatic pings, once every hour, for more than 6 hours. That means one thing. The plane was still flying, long after it disappeared. Still in the air, still moving, still somewhere. Now think about the scale of that. A massive aircraft, flying through the night, no contact, no tracking, no explanation. And then, the final ping. After that, nothing. Total silence. As if the plane had crossed into a place where it simply stopped existing. This triggered one of the largest search operations in history. Aircraft, ships, satellites, international teams, scanning vast areas of ocean. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still, nothing. No wreckage, no clear debris field, no answers. It was like searching for something that didn't want to be found. Years later, small pieces began to appear, fragments. Debris washed ashore on distant coastlines, confirmed to be from the aircraft, which tells us something important. The plane did crash somewhere, but where and how remains unknown. And that's what makes this case so unsettling, because when something this large disappears, it should leave evidence. But here, it didn't. And that's where everything breaks. Because the data doesn't fit a simple explanation. The system's being shut down. The change, of course, the hours of flight. None of it matches a typical accident. Which leads to one conclusion. This wasn't normal. So what really happened? This is where the theories begin. And none of them are comfortable. One possibility is hijacking. Someone took control of the aircraft, disabled communication systems, changed the route, and redirected the plane. But there's a problem. There's no evidence of a landing. No airport, no radar trace, no record. A plane that size cannot simply land unnoticed. And yet, no trace exists. Another theory points to the pilot, a deliberate act, a controlled deviation. But even that doesn't explain everything. It leaves gaps, too many gaps. Because the flight path, the duration, the lack of clear motive doesn't fully align. And then comes the most unsettling possibility: external interference, something unknown. Because in that region, there have been reports, unusual anomalies, navigation disruptions, strange signals. Nothing officially confirmed, but enough to raise questions. And when something disappears without a trace, questions multiply. Because the human mind tries to fill the void. But sometimes, there is no comfortable answer. Let me ask you something. If a modern aircraft can disappear like this, what else can? Because this isn't just a mystery, it's a crack in the system. A moment where control completely failed. We like to believe everything is tracked, everything is monitored, everything is under control. But this case proves something different. Not always. Because a plane with hundreds of people on board can vanish and never be fully explained. And that changes everything because it means there are limits. Limits to technology, limits to control, limits to what we understand. And beyond those limits, things can happen without warning, without answers, without closure. If you're drawn to real mysteries, unexplained events, and cases that challenge everything we think we know, subscribe to Crazy World Facts. And we want to hear your opinion. What do you think really happened to Flight MH370? Was it hijacking? A deliberate act? Or something we still don't understand? Let us know in the comments, because this is one of those cases where the truth may never be found.